People are shocked by your unique and powerful ability. You don't even realize you have it. Look at their eyes. They are terrified of your courage. Not the kind of courage that shows up loud and obvious, not the kind that demands attention or makes a scene. No. It's something quieter than that. Something so deeply grounded in who you are that it doesn't need to announce itself. It moves through the room, like water finds its own level. Inevitable, unstoppable, and somehow it makes everyone around you feel small without you ever trying. There is something about the way you carry yourself that gets under people's skin, and I mean that literally. I've watched it happen. Yeah, someone says something to you that's designed to hurt, designed to provoke, designed to make you react in the way they expect you to. Your heart rate might spike for a second. You feel it, that initial surge. But then something happens. Something shifts. Your breath steadies, your shoulders relax, and you respond. Not react, but respond with this clarity that makes them realize they have completely miscalculated who they are dealing with. And you watch something change in their face. Fear. Pure, unmistakable fear. Maybe it's Sunday morning and you're lying in bed, and for just a few seconds before your mind fully turns on, you feel something underneath everything else. A pull towards something. An appetite for life that feels dangerous somehow. And a voice that sounds like the realest version of you, the one who doesn't ask permission. Then you remember who you are supposed to be, and you close the door on that feeling like someone pulling down a shade. But here is what you don't tell anyone. You miss it immediately. You miss that version of you that was brave enough to just want things without calculating the cost. That ghost of yourself is still there, special on quiet mornings. And the truth you will not say out loud is that ghost is the most alive you have ever actually felt. But here is what's happening that you might not see clearly yet. There are people in your life, not all of them, but a specific group, who are absolutely fascinated and terrified by you at the same time. They watch you make choices they wouldn't make. They watch you walk away from situations that would keep them trapped. They watch you talk about your own wounds and your own failures without shame, just factually, like you're reading something off a page. And it stops them cold because they have been taught their whole lives that you are supposed to hide those things, those feelings. You are supposed to pretend they don't exist. You are definitely not supposed to say them out loud where other people can hear. Let me give you a concrete example because this is where it gets interesting. You are at a gathering of some kind. Could be a party, could be a work event, could be somewhere, anywhere people come together. Someone says something that gets a laugh. Not a small laugh, The kind of love that means it landed, that mattered. And you have something to say too. Something funnier, something with more edge, something that would shift the entire energy of the room. You can feel it forming in your mind. You can almost hear how the laughter would change shape when you say it. Your body knows it. But then you pause. And in that pause, something interesting happens. You chose not to say it. Not because you're afraid, not because you can't, but because you are genuinely considering whether this moment belongs to you or to them. So you smile instead. You make space for their joke to live. You become the perfect audience member. You are the person who makes other people feel good about themselves. And that's when it gets strange. Because there is this part of you that knows exactly what you would have said. That part heard the setup and immediately saw the angle, the timing, the devastating delivery. That version of you would have stolen the room. Everyone would have felt that shift in the energy, but you gave them the moment instead. You chose small. You chose safety. And you felt something happen inside, like a door closing quietly somewhere deep in your own mind. The room didn't even notice what you gave up. They just saw a kind person enjoying someone else's moment. But you walked home feeling two things at the same time. Relief, of course, relief that you didn't risk, and this hollow ache you understood perfectly but couldn't name. And here is what blows my mind. The people who are watching all of this, the ones who are shocked by you, they can't stop thinking about it. They go home and they are still thinking about you, not in the way you'd think, not with admiration, though some of it is that. It's more complicated than that, because what they are really seeing is someone who doesn't need them to be okay. Someone who's figured out how to be comfortable in their own skin in a way they haven't figured out. Someone who can take a hit and not hit back. Not because they are weak, but because they are strong enough not to. And that strength, that grounded, quiet strength, is the most threatening thing they have ever encountered, because it can't be fought with the usual weapons. Cannot? Think about someone in your life who makes you nervous in that way. Not because they are aggressive or loud or trying to dominate the room, but because they are genuinely okay with themselves. They talk about hard things without bitterness. They talk about their own failures like they are just information. They don't beg for reassurance. They don't need you to prove that you're on their side. They just know who they are, and they move through life with this quality that you can only describe as grace. And if you are being honest with yourself, that terrifies you sometimes, because it makes you look at the ways you are still pretending, the ways you are still performing, the ways you are still trying to convince people you are someone you are not. That's exactly what you are doing to people around you right now. That's exactly what you are doing. You might not see it that way. You might think you are just being kind. You might think you are just being sensible. But what's actually happening is you are showing people a version of what they could be if they got out of their own way. And they can't unsee it. Once they have seen what's possible, they can't go back to believing that their small, careful, controlled version of living is the only option. So they have two choices. They can either start looking at their own lives more honestly, or they can decide that something about you is wrong, that something about you is dangerous, that something about you needs to be brought down. And I will be honest with you. I'm always actually honest. A lot of people choose the second option because the first option requires them to do the work. The first option means admitting that they have been complicit in their own smallness. It means admitting that all those things they have been doing, the gossiping, the controlling, the withholding of themselves, the hitting, the hiding, those things are choices they've made, not requirements they bound by. So instead, they get together. Maybe it's coffee, maybe it's a family dinner, maybe it's phone calls late at night, but they get together and they talk about you. And they are looking at your success, and they are looking at your peace, and they are looking at the fact that you don't seem to need them to validate you. And they are shocked. They are actually shocked that someone can just live like that. What I'm noticing, and I really want you to hear this, is that there is something about the way you handle conflict that breaks their entire model of how the world works. Because they have been operating from fear their whole lives. They have been operating from the belief that if you don't control things, things will spiral out of control. If you don't maintain rigid boundaries around who you are and what you believe, people will reject you. If you show any vulnerability, any crack in the facade, everyone will turn on you. So, they have built their whole lives around that premise. Tight, controlled, safe. And then you come along and you are doing the exact opposite. You are walking into situations where other people are trying to provoke you. And you're not provoked. You're not. You're not triggering back. You are responding from this place of such fundamental okayness that they can't even compute it. It's like you are playing a completely different game than they are. And when they realize that, when they see that their weapons don't work on you, something shifts. They get scared. Because if you can do this, if it's actually possible to move through the world this way, then what have they been doing? What have they been sacrificing? What they have been missing? I want to talk about something specific because I've noticed this pattern over and over. There is someone in their circle, maybe more than one person, who's starting to question the narrative they've all been telling about you. because they are watching too. They are watching how you treat people. They are watching how you handle yourself when things get hard. They are watching the fact that you don't seem to need to perform or convince or prove anything. And they are starting to wonder if maybe they have been wrong, if maybe the things they have been told about you don't match what they are actually seeing. That person is starting to falter on their beliefs. And that's dangerous to the group consensus, because once one person starts questioning others, might start questioning too. Others might start questioning too. So here is what happens next. They double down, they call more meetings, they gather the group more frequently, and they talk more intensely about you because they need to shore up the narrative. They need everyone on the same page. They need to make sure nobody strays from the story they have created about who you are and what you are about. And it's all happening in this hushed, secretive way. They don't want people to know they are even thinking about you this much. They don't want it to seem like you've gotten under their skin. But you absolutely have. You've gotten so far under their skin that they can't get you out. And you want to know the most brilliant part. Not beautiful, brilliant. The thing that really terrifies them. You're not doing anything to make them think about you this much. You're just living your life. You are making your choices. You are healing your own stuff. You are building your own thing. You're not sending anything toward them. You're not trying to convince them. You're not performing for them. You are just existing in a way that contradicts everything they believe about how the world works. And they can't stop thinking about it. They can't. There is this older way of thinking that still has roots in a lot of families and communities. It's based on ideas that that are hundreds of years old. It's about maintaining things exactly as they have always been maintained. It's about honoring tradition above personal growth. It's about doing things the way your grandmother did them and her grandmother before her. And if someone comes along with a different way of being, with different values, with a different version for what life could look like, it feels like a threat to the entire foundation. Because if one person gets to live differently, what does that mean for everyone else who's been living the old way? It means their sacrifices might have been unnecessary. It means their limitations might have been self-imposed. It means that they have more choice than they have been acting like they have. Did I confuse you? So they position people like you as dangerous, as selfish, as going against tradition, as being influenced by outside ideas that they are corrupting the purity of the way things should be. And some of them genuinely believe this. They are not being malicious intentionally. They are just terrified. They are protecting something they believe is worth protecting. But that doesn't make it less damaging to have to exit in a position to that. It doesn't make it less painful to have people you might care about questioning your character, questioning your motivations, questioning whether you are really who you say you are. What's wild is that the more you prove them wrong through your actions, and you are proving them wrong whether you realize it or not, the more defensive they become, because they are trapped. They've told everyone in their circle what they believe about you. They have made it part of the group identity. And now you're walking around being successful, being peaceful, being genuinely kind and open-hearted, and you're not miserable. You're not miserable. You're not suffering the consequences they predicted. You're not falling apart. You're actually thriving. And that contradiction between what they said would happen and what's actually happening is making them look bad. It's making them realize that their predictions were wrong. And people don't like that. People don't like being wrong, especially not about someone's character. So they start to wonder if maybe something else is happening. Maybe you've got some kind of protection they don't understand. Maybe you're operating from knowledge they don't have. Maybe there is something about you that's genuinely different from what they have been told their whole lives is possible for a person to be. And that wondering, that's where the fear really lives. Fear, yeah. Because if you can do it, what does that say about them? What does that say about the choices they've made? What does that say about their limitations they have accepted? I have also noticed something about how you talk. The way you're willing to be vulnerable about things that happened to you. The way you can discuss your own failures without shame or bitterness. The way you can talk about trauma in a factual way that doesn't center blame. That's shocking to people because in their mind, in their world, you're supposed to either never speak about those things or you're supposed to speak about them in a way that positions you as a victim deserving of sympathy. You're not supposed to just name what happened and move on. You are not supposed to be okay after something that should have destroyed you. That's not the narrative they understand. And here is where it gets really interesting. There is something about your spiritual awareness. Yes, spiritual awareness. And I'm not talking about religion here. I'm talking about your actual connection to something bigger than yourself. Your ability to ground yourself, to trust your intuition, to listen to that quiet voice inside that tells you what's true. That's genuinely impressive. And it terrifies them because it's something they don't have access to. They've been taught to ignore that voice. They've been taught that it's dangerous to trust yourself that much. So when they see someone, you, doing exactly that and thriving because of it, it makes them question everything they've been taught. The way you've handled people who've tried to hurt you is remarkable. Someone sends negativity your way, and instead of sending it back, instead of engaging in the tit for tat that they are used to, you just don't play the game. You ground yourself, you protect your peace, you respond with grace when a reaction would be so much easier and so much more satisfying. And that confuses them because they think strength looks like power over others. They think power looks like being able to convince someone else to bend to your will. But you are demonstrating a completely different kind of strength. You are demonstrating the strength it takes to stay centered in a storm. The strength it takes not to be moved by other people's negativity. The strength it takes to be open-hearted even when you've seen what people are capable of. And I want to tell you something that I think you need to hear. The fear you see in their eyes when they look at you, that's not about you being a threat to them physically or practically. That's about you being a reflection they don't want to see. Every time they look at you, they are being shown what's possible if you just get out of your own way. They are being shown that you don't need their approval. They don't need that you don't need their permission, that you don't need their love and acceptance to know your own worth. And that is absolutely terrifying to people who have organized their entire lives around getting those things from others. What's happening right now? What's been happening for a while actually, and is that something is shifting. Information is being passed to you. Wisdom that's been carried through your lineage is trying to get through to you. Healing knowledge about how to protect yourself, how to ground yourself, how to work with the natural world and your own intuition in ways that are genuinely powerful, really powerful, and you're receiving it. Maybe through dreams, maybe through just a sudden knowing, maybe through a series of coincidences that have been adding up. Someone is trying to show you something about who you really are, something about capabilities you didn't even know you had, something about the depth of your own power. Because here is the truth that they can feel even if they can't quite articulate it. You have something they don't. You have access to something real, something genuine, something that can be faked or performed or controlled. And they can sense that, they can feel it every time they are around you. It's in your presence. It's in the way you move through space. It's in the way you speak without needing to convince anyone. It's in the way you hold your own without holding on to others. The thing they are most threatened by is that you have somehow figured out how to be yourself completely and unapologetically, while still being kind, while still being open, while still making space for other people. That combination is almost impossible from where they are sitting. In their world, you either have to be hard and closed off to protect yourself, or you have to be open and vulnerable with me, which means you are weak. The idea that you could be both strong and open, both grounded and kind, both self-aware and generous, that doesn't fit into their framework. And when something doesn't fit into your framework, it becomes something to be explained away, something to be judged, something to be brought down. But what they don't understand is that your power isn't in dominating them, or convincing them, or winning them all over. Your power is in being so completely rooted in yourself that nothing they can do, they can shake you. Your power is in the fact that you've done your own inner work so thoroughly that you don't need external validation to know your worth. Your power is in the fact that you can see their behavior clearly without taking it personally. You can see that they are acting from fear without deciding that their fear is your responsibility to fix. So, when you see fear in their eyes, when you watch them trying to figure you out, when you notice how much space you are taking up in their minds and conversations, I want you to understand what's really happening. They are not afraid of you because you're evil or threatening or dangerous in the way they are suggesting. They are afraid because you are showing them something they want and cannot figure out how to have. You are showing them freedom. You are showing them peace. You are showing them what it looks like to actually trust yourself. And that freedom scares them because freedom means responsibility. Freedom means you can't blame anyone else for the choices you are making. Freedom means you have to look at yourself honestly. The thing about what you are doing is that you are not trying to convince them. You're not trying to change their minds. You're not trying to make them see things the way you do. You are just living. You are just being. And that quiet power is more transformative than any argument you could ever make, because you are showing them through example that it's possible. And possibility, once glimpsed, can't ever be fully unseen. Some of them will keep trying to make you wrong because it's easier. Yeah, it's easier than doing their own work. Some of them are going to start questioning. Some of them are going to start wondering what their lives could look like if they were brave enough to do what you are doing. And maybe that's the whole point. Maybe your power, the power they are so shocked by, isn't meant to convince the people who are threatened by it. Maybe it means to light the way for the people who are ready to change. Maybe it's meant to show people who are still trapped that another way is possible. Maybe the fact that you don't even realize you have this power is exactly what makes you so powerful, because it's real. It's not performed. It's not strategic. It's just who you are. Just who you are when you are being authentic with yourself. And that authenticity, that groundedness, that refusal to perform for anyone. That's what they see when they look at you. That's what terrifies them. And that's what makes you so powerful. That's what makes you so powerful.